Have you ever felt like you're building something magnificent in a room with no one watching? You put in the work, you honor the quiet promises you made to yourself. But the world outside offers only silence. No applause, no recognition, no one to say, "I see you." And in that stillness, a question can form. Does any of this matter if no one is there to witness it? But what if I told you that this exact silence is where your greatest power is secretly forged? Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, suggested that every rebirth first requires a kind of falling apart. When you find there's no one left to lean on, it isn't a sign of failure. It's a signal. Your psyche is preparing you to step into a new chapter, one where you become your own deepest source of strength. In this discussion, we'll walk through 7 stages to help you rise, precisely when it feels like you're walking alone. The moment you stop waiting for a rescuer is the moment you uncover a profound truth. Everything you've ever looked for outside, courage, love, wholeness, was always present within you, just waiting for you to turn and acknowledge it. And when you do, you don't just get back up. You begin to glow with an inner light that no shadow can diminish. Embracing solitude's unlikely gift. There are times when the world seems to grow quiet. Conversations that used to energize you now feel hollow. The people around you start to feel distant, even if they're physically present. On the surface, your life may look unchanged, but inside, a fundamental shift is taking place. Few will tell you this, but this feeling of isolation is often the first subtle sign of a major inner transformation, what Jung termed the night sea journey, a voyage into your own depths. This isn't about being physically by yourself in an empty space. It's the visceral sense of being disconnected from the identities and groups you once called home. You go through the motions, you smile, but you feel a quiet, knowing that the world you knew no longer speaks to your soul. It's as if everyone is speaking a language you've forgotten, and you're left with only your own company. Many misinterpret this stage as a personal failing. In reality, it's the necessary process where your essence begins to separate from the persona, the mask you wore to fit in. The thought, "No one gets me," isn't a sign you're lost. It's evidence you're drawing nearer to your authentic core. Jung proposed that genuine maturity blossoms when we courageously face ourselves in absolute solitude, not when others are listening, but when every external voice fades and you are compelled to listen to the one within. In this phase, it's common to flee, to bury yourself in work, lose yourself in relationships, or seek any distraction to avoid the emptiness. Yet, the avoidance only makes the void feel larger. Solitude doesn't arrive to punish you. It comes to deepen you, to help you construct a foundation that is entirely your own. I recall a man who, after a career-ending injury, found his days terrifyingly vacant. His identity had been his sport. Instead of numbing the pain with noise, he learned to sit with the quiet. He began with just 5 minutes a day, then longer. He walked, he read, he wrote down his thoughts. He confronted the questions he'd spent a lifetime running from. He later shared, "The silence stopped being something I feared. It became a place where I finally met myself." That is the meeting with the self Jung described. The instant you stop fleeing and start coming home to who you are, when there's no external safety net, that pressure forces you to cultivate a profound inner discipline, like a mountain climber on a sheer face. Every move becomes intentional. Every step is a commitment you make to yourself. And each commitment you honor becomes a brick in the unshakable fortress of your character. Solitude doesn't come to weaken you. It comes to make you resilient. It's the gymnasium of the soul where your spirit is tempered into steel. In hindsight, you may find that your most powerful transformations occurred in those silent seasons. The strongest trees weather the quietest winters. Think of an ancient oak in the dead of winter. All other trees are bare, but the oak stands firm against the biting wind. No leaves, no adornment. Yet, during that silent cold season, its roots are driving deeper into the earth, gathering strength for the spring to come. We are no different. Every period of loneliness is the soul's winter. If you can find the patience to remain, you will discover that a vibrant spring is waiting just on the other side. Jung wrote, "In all disorder a secret order lies." If you find yourself in the darkness of solitude today, do not be afraid. It is not a sign of brokenness. It's proof that you are leaving an old path to begin a new one. For a new self to be born, the old one must first dissolve. And only when the world is quiet can you hear the voice inside you whisper, "It is time to begin." Remember, no one is coming to carry you. But that isn't a tragedy, because in that very realization, a true and lasting strength is born. No one can hand you resilience, but solitude will show you how to build it yourself. Every time you endure a long, dark night, you are not just surviving fear. You are rewriting the narrative of your life. The end of seeking external comfort. At a certain point, after learning to stand in your own company, a deep realization dawns. What truly drains us isn't being alone. It's exhausting expectation that someone else must arrive to fill the space. Carl Jung observed that loneliness doesn't stem from having no one around, but from feeling unable to share the matters that feel most significant to your heart. When you depend on others for your emotional stability, every silence, every delayed reply can feel like a personal rejection. That isn't connection, it's emotional dependency, which Jung identified as a trait of an ego that has not yet integrated its parts. After the stage of the solitary warrior, the next lesson is to become your own source of solace. When you cease seeking constant reassurance and approval from the outside, your true self begins to take its rightful place. I remember a story from a man in a workshop. He shared that he would feel a surge of anxiety if his partner didn't text back within an hour. He'd check his phone relentlessly, his mind spinning with catastrophic scenarios. Logically, I know it's irrational, he confessed, but in those moments, her silence makes me feel insignificant. Through reflection, he traced this fear back to his youth. When he expressed sadness, his family would dismiss it with, "You're too sensitive." His unconscious mind learned, "Your feelings are a burden." Ever since, he had been searching for someone to prove that he mattered. Jung called this the trap of projection. We use other people as mirrors to decide our own value. When they reflect back approval, we feel whole. When they turn away, we feel shattered. But the reality is, no one can be your mirror forever. The more you rely on others for your emotional balance, the more you surrender your own capacity to steady yourself. Self-soothing isn't about becoming cold or detached. It means becoming the person who can listen to your own heart. When worry surfaces, instead of immediately seeking someone to calm you, you pause, place a hand on your chest, and gently say, "I am here with you." This simple, profound act is the dawn of emotional sovereignty, a critical phase of what Jung called individuation, when you stop merging with the crowd and become a self-directed individual. A person who can comfort themselves doesn't require constant external feedback to feel worthy. They don't need instant replies or praise to continue their path. They can sit alone in a park, enjoying the breeze, and feel entirely complete in that moment. This isn't aloofness. It's the highest form of liberation, freedom from the desperate need for outside validation. Jung suggested that all dependency is, in fact, the shadow side of love. We call it attachment, but its real name is the fear of being left. The immature self craves another person to confirm its worth. But when you look deeply into that fear, you find it's not an emptiness. It's an invitation to become the nurturing presence you may have needed long ago, but never received. And then you understand a stunning truth. What you thought you needed from someone else to survive, you have always held the power to provide for yourself. Your worth is not an echo. It is your own voice. In contemporary psychology, this is emotional self-reliance. It isn't about rejecting love or deep connection. It's about refusing to hand the remote control of your inner world to anyone else. You can still love, still connect deeply, but you do not disintegrate when relationships shift. When someone departs, you feel the grief, but you do not collapse. When someone is silent, you notice, but you do not lose your sense of value. A person with this inner foundation doesn't need a hero. They can lift themselves up, dry their own tears, and continue walking their path. And only from that place of wholeness can they offer love authentically, not from a place of lack, but as a conscious choice. This is perhaps what Jung meant when he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Because when you stop seeking comfort from others, You finally start to perceive your own inherent power, a power that doesn't depend on others, doesn't need to borrow, and can never be taken from you. From the moment you stop waiting for someone else to make you happy, you truly begin to mature. And if you are in that stage right now where no one seems to understand, no one offers comfort, no one lifts you up, remember it's okay. No one coming to your rescue doesn't mean you are alone. It only signifies that it's time to stand firmly on your own 2 feet. Whisper this quietly to yourself. I don't need a savior. I just need to remain true to myself. That is the pivotal turn toward rising, even when the path is yours alone to walk. Releasing the habit of complaint. Once you've built strength in solitude and learned to comfort yourself, a more subtle challenge emerges. To let go of complaining. Complaining is the ego's clever mechanism for keeping you anchored in your comfort zone, a place where you get to see yourself as the one who has been wronged. It convinces you that you have a valid reason not to change. But the great irony is this. Every time you voice a complaint, you are unconsciously reinforcing the belief that you are powerless. You are sending a message to your deepest self. I have no agency. Jung identified this as the shadow of self-pity. When you're caught in its grip, you cease taking action and instead repeat the same lament. Why is this happening to me? As if the cosmos is uniquely unjust, as if life owes you a different outcome. But the more potent question is not why me? It is what can I build from this? The moment you shift your focus to that question, the energy that was trapped in grievance begins to flow forward into creation. Jung famously stated, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Each complaint is a sign that your unconscious patterns are running the show, casting you as a victim of circumstance. But when you bring awareness to the emotion fueling your complaint, you step out of the shadow and reclaim your role as the conscious author of your life. Complaining is a deceptive habit. It gives you the sensation of doing something, when in truth, you are remaining perfectly still. Each grievance is a form of postponed action. While you are busy blaming outside conditions, you are draining the very energy required to transform them. Others may cause you pain, but only you get to decide whether that pain becomes a chain that binds you or a lesson that frees you. Imagine a rough stone in a riverbed. The current is relentless. It tumbles and scrapes the stone. But over time, that very flow, which seems so harsh, polishes the stone until it becomes smooth and radiant. Life operates in a similar way. It does not stop because you protest. It continues its flow, testing and shaping you. But if you can endure the current without cursing it, you will emerge stronger, clearer, and more beautiful than you were before. Complaining nourishes the victim identity, the part of you that always wants an external force to take responsibility for your suffering. That identity loves to feel wronged because as long as you are the victim, you are free from the burden of responsibility. But that is also the surest way to remain stuck. Conversely, every time you choose to stop complaining and take a single small step, you reclaim the power that was lost to your unconscious patterns. You rise not because someone gives you a hand, but because you choose not to remain in the darkness any longer. Complaining often begins with seemingly innocent phrases. I'm so exhausted. No one appreciates my efforts. I try, and it goes unnoticed. These words feel harmless, but they secretly feed an ego that believes its well-being is determined by others. Truly resilient people do not need the world to console them. They can look directly at their discomfort, acknowledge its presence, and then ask, what is the next right action? A subscriber once told me that after a painful professional betrayal, she spent months stewing in resentment. I told the story of their betrayal to anyone who would listen, she said. Then I realized I had been telling the same story for half a year. That night, she wrote in her journal, if I had no audience for my complaints, would I still be telling this story? The answer was a clear no. The following day, she began writing about what she wanted to learn, what she wished to change, what she longed to create. It wasn't their betrayal that truly hurt me in the end, she realized. It was that I clung to the story of that hurt for far too long. Releasing complaint does not mean pretending you are not in pain. It means refusing to build a permanent home inside that pain. You can still feel sadness, disappointment, and grief, but instead of endlessly narrating the wound, you channel that energy into building something new. Each action, no matter how minor, is a declaration to the universe. I am not a victim of my circumstances. I am the architect of my response. Carl Jung once said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And that choice, to cease complaining and begin constructing, is the gateway to a new tier of personal power. Every time you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can I build from this? You take another step forward. Because in the end, this is how you rise, even when you stand alone, not through seeking pity, but through the quiet, formidable strength of taking full responsibility for your own becoming. And then you will realize you were never truly alone. You were just too focused on the complaint to hear your own soul calling you forward, becoming your own anchor of validation. After you've stopped the cycle of complaint and started to take action, a more profound test emerges. The silence of being unseen. You stand up, you work diligently, you offer your best, and yet no one applauds. No one acknowledges your effort. No one appears to notice. This is the juncture where many people quit, not because they fear the hard work, but because they fear being invisible. But it is precisely at this moment of zero external recognition that the universe is testing a crucial capacity. Can you continue without the spotlight? Carl Jung wrote that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, because when you truly become your own source of validation, you no longer hide behind the opinions of others. You don't require constant compliments. You don't need external proof of your value. You don't need witnesses to your journey, because you have become your own most reliable witness. I'm reminded of the myth of Cassandra, who was gifted with the power of foresight but cursed so that no one would believe her prophecies. She saw truths and coming disasters clearly, but everyone dismissed her as insane. Yet, even in total isolation, Cassandra did not fall silent. She continued to speak her truth, remaining loyal to her own vision, even when the world refused to listen. Her story is a powerful metaphor for every resilient soul. Those who continue to honor their inner truth even when the world offers no validation. Sometimes being believed by others is less important than staying true to what you know. Similarly, in our modern lives, many of us give our all, only to be met with indifference. A woman once shared with me that after years of dedicated work, she was often the last person to leave her office. Yet, when promotion time came, her manager praised a colleague. I felt utterly invisible, she said. One day, she made a pivotal decision. She would stop working for the purpose of being seen and start working to see and value herself. Every time she completed a significant task, she would write down what she had done well and reward herself with a small, meaningful break, a walk, a good coffee, time with a book. I realized, she told me, that external validation only lasts for a moment, but the recognition I give myself sustains me for days. This is the essential shift from the dependent ego to the self, the mature central core of our being. In Jung's framework, those who live from the self act, not for praise, but because their actions are a genuine expression of who they are. They don't need an audience to know their worth, because their value doesn't come from applause. It originates from an inner alignment with truth. External validation, in the end, is merely a reflection. Those who have not yet seen their own light will perpetually chase it in the eyes of others. But those who have learned to generate that light from within carry it with them wherever they go. They no longer need others to believe in them, because their own belief has become their foundation. Jung noted that knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. When you dare to look within, to see both your weaknesses and your strengths with clarity, you stop needing the world to prove your worth to you. You're no longer controlled by the fear of being not enough, because you know on a fundamental level that you are enough simply because you exist. Self-validation is not arrogance. It is the deepest form of self-respect. It is knowing you are still on your journey, still imperfect, and yet holding yourself with compassion, accepting both your light and your shadow. Those who can validate themselves do not deny their flaws. They see them as evidence of their ongoing growth. Mistakes do not diminish their worth. They make their path more authentic and human. Consider how steel is forged. The metal gains its strength and resilience only when it is tempered in intense fire. The human soul undergoes a similar process. Silence, neglect, and a lack of external recognition are the very flames that strengthen your inner core. When no one else validates you, you are compelled to look inward. And in that inward gaze, you discover something extraordinary. You are far more resilient than you ever imagined. And when you truly embrace that, something miraculous occurs. You begin to radiate a quiet confidence from within. Others may not say a word, but they will feel your presence, steady, calm, and grounded. Not because you are trying to shine, but because you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Remember, all applause eventually fades. Every admiring gaze will eventually turn away. But your own gaze, if it is kind and honest, becomes an inner flame that never goes out. And that is the secret of those who rise, even when they stand alone. If you feel the power of self-validation, if you are ready to stop seeking the world's eyes and start seeing yourself clearly, let us know by liking this video. Let that be your signal to the universe. I am ready to become my own source of light, transforming failure into fuel. Have you ever wondered why, even after becoming stronger and more centered, life still brings you to your knees? Especially when there's no one there to help you back up. Failure, in its truest sense, isn't about losing or being defeated. It's that moment you stumble on the very path you trusted most. The times you believed you had mastered your ego, only to have a single event or a careless word send you reeling back into doubt. You feel vulnerable, perhaps ashamed, and in that isolated space, the temptation to revert to an older, more pleasing version of yourself, just to feel accepted, can be powerful. But as Jung's work illuminates, these falls do not come to destroy you. They arrive to reveal the parts of you that are still waiting to be healed, the fragments of your psyche that are longing to be integrated and embraced with love. Every time you fall, your shadow emerges into the light. This is not a punishment. It is an illumination. It shines a light on your hidden arrogance, your fear of being judged, your lingering hunger for approval. And the moment you choose to rise again without any applause or external support, your self expands and grows more whole. In his correspondence, Jung wrote, "Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth. Failure does not weaken you. It makes you authentic. Because only when no one is there to catch you, do you truly learn how to stand with your own 2 feet." I knew an artist who ran a small gallery. After years of dedicated work, she was betrayed by her business partner and lost almost everything. For months, she was consumed by shame and anxiety. But one day, a mentor asked her, "If this isn't an ending but a difficult lesson, what is it here to teach you?" She was quiet for a long time, then replied, "Perhaps that I stopped listening to my own intuition." From that day forward, she began a daily journaling practice, not to lament her losses, but to document what the pain was teaching her. A year later, she opened a new, smaller studio. It was more humble, but far more aligned with her true vision. "I'm no longer terrified of falling," she told me, "because every fall has forced me to be more honest with who I am." This is how failure is alchemized into fuel. You cannot grow in total safety, because comfort lulls the unconscious into sleep. But when you hit bottom, every layer of pretense is burned away, and your soul stands revealed, raw and true. From a neuroscientific perspective, when you fail, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex activates. This region processes the gap between what you expected and what actually occurred. If you respond with fear or self-blame, your body floods with cortisol, a stress hormone that can paralyze you. But when you take purposeful action, even a tiny step, your prefrontal cortex lights up, releasing dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to motivation and hope. In simple terms, regret keeps you stuck, but movement heals you. Think of the legendary phoenix, the mythical bird that is reborn from its own ashes. When it grows old, it immolates itself in a fiery blaze, only to rise again from the remnants, renewed and more vibrant than before. We humans share this capacity. If you have the courage to rise from your own ashes, you will see that what was burned away was never the core of you. It was merely the outer shell that had served its purpose and was ready to be released. Jung stated, There is no coming to consciousness without pain. When we meet our failures without harsh judgment, our wounds cease to be enemies and transform into our most profound teachers. In the heart of pain, awareness is born, and it is only by touching our own wounds that we can genuinely touch our shared humanity. In every failure, you are faced with a fundamental choice. Let the event define you, or let it refine you. When you say, "I am a failure," you imprison your identity in the past. But when you say, "I am learning from this experience," you open a doorway to the future. The bottom is never a dead end. It is the solid ground you push against to propel yourself upward. Resilient souls are not born from a life of ease. They are forged in the fires of collapse. Just as metal must endure the forge to become a strong blade, we discover our true strength when we face failure and consciously choose not to retreat. Remember, stumbling does not make you weak. Choosing to remain on the ground does. When you shake off the dust, face your misstep with compassion, and take one more step, no matter how small, you are actively rewriting your story. One day, you will look back and see that every failure carried a sacred purpose. It did not come to break you. It came to reveal a truer, brighter, and more steadfast version of you that was waiting to emerge. So do not wait for a helping hand. Rise quickly and with a heart that remains open. In that moment, you do not merely overcome failure. You become the very flame that no darkness can ever extinguish. The power of action over inspiration. After learning how to rise from your falls, a deeper lesson awaits. To act even when you don't feel ready or inspired. Because if solitude forged your inner strength, then consistent discipline will make that strength shine brightly in the world. Jung described will as the psychic energy capable of reorganizing the entire personality. It is not merely the force to accomplish tasks, but the power to transcend fleeting emotions in service of a more enduring purpose. When you act only when you feel inspired, your ego is still in charge, the part of you that constantly seeks comfort and avoids discomfort. But when you act regardless of how you feel, you no longer require motivation, because you have aligned yourself with a higher order, the order of the self, where action flows from commitment, not from passing mood. Inspiration is a wonderful guest, but discipline is the foundation of the house itself. There will be days when you feel no motivation, no spark of hope, no sense of meaning whatsoever. But if on those exact days you still sit down and take one small step, you are training your most important muscle, your will, which can master your emotions. Jung believed that most people dissipate their vital energy waiting for inspiration to strike, instead of consciously cultivating their willpower. If you only move when you feel excited, your life will be a collection of enthusiastic beginnings, but devoid of the mastery that comes from finishing. Because inspiration is like the wind. It comes and goes unpredictably, but will is the rudder on your ship. It keeps you moving forward even when the winds are completely still. This brings to mind the work of psychologist Angela Duckworth on grit, which she defines as the combination of passion and perseverance toward long-term goals. She found that high achievers are often not the most naturally talented, but rather those who continue to act even when their initial enthusiasm has faded, especially when there is no external crowd cheering them on. Jung once expressed that freedom of will is the ability to do gladly that which I must do. True freedom, then, is not about doing whatever you feel like in the moment. It is about finding joy and purpose in doing what is necessary for your growth. When you learn to act from will, you stop being a victim of your emotional weather and become the captain of your ship. A friend of mine, a single father balancing 2 jobs, once told me he woke at 4:30 every morning to manage the endless tasks of survival. He reached a point of utter exhaustion. I lost all sense of passion for anything, he admitted. But one day his daughter asked him, "Dad, do you ever dream anymore?" That question sparked something in him. That very night, he decided to begin again, not because he felt a surge of inspiration, but out of a deep sense of responsibility to his own spirit. He started in a small way, waking 20 minutes earlier to sketch, writing one daily goal, setting aside a few dollars for a future project. Some days he was so tired he could barely think, but he persisted. "I stopped waiting to feel motivated," he said. "I just focused on my will, because my daughter needs to see her father not give up on himself." a year and a half later. He had saved enough to take a course in a field he loved. No one helped him. No one offered encouragement. But he kept walking. He learned that willpower is not a feeling. It is a daily decision to continue, even when your heart feels heavy. His story teaches us a vital truth. Inspiration does not create will. Consistent will over time generates its own inspiration. When you begin, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to be honest with yourself about the very first step. The feeling of inspiration will often follow as a reward for your perseverance. People with strong wills are not devoid of emotion. They simply do not allow their emotions to dictate their actions. They still feel fear, doubt, and fatigue, but they act for the sake of something larger. Their values, their commitments, their integrity. Each time they choose what is meaningful over what is easy. They strengthen the connection between their conscious mind and their soul, between the small, comfort-seeking ego and the mature, purposeful self. One day you will look back and see that your most significant growth did not happen during moments of high excitement, but in the quiet, resistant moments, especially when you were entirely alone with no one to remind you or cheer you on. Those are the moments that truly shape your character, not because they are easy, but because you made the conscious choice not to let your mood or your loneliness determine your direction. So if today you feel uninspired, unseen, or unsupported, remember this. You do not need any of those things to take action. You just need one small, deliberate decision to begin. Not perfectly, not with grand drama. Just begin. And then your consistency will carry you further than any outside helper ever could. All the way to the distant shore of your own potential. If you've ever had to keep moving forward alone, without motivation, without support, guided only by your inner will, please share your experience in the comments. Because sometimes your story can become the small flame that prevents someone else from giving up on their own path today. The realization that understanding comes from within. There arrives a moment after all the silent effort and discipline, when you realize you've done everything you knew to do. You kept walking. You stayed disciplined. You remained faithful to your path. And yet, the outer world remains silent. No one truly knows your journey. No one fully understands your struggles. No one says, "Thank you for persevering." And in that profound quiet, a subtle question can arise. Does any of this matter if no one comprehends the depth of what you've been through? This is the final, and perhaps most liberating, lesson. When there is no one left to lean on for comprehension, you must discover your own light. When you crave to be understood by others, you are still, on some level, asking them to validate your very existence. But the truth is, no one can ever fully understand you, because only you have lived your unique inner journey. You are the only mapmaker of your inner world. Carl Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." All the answers you are searching for already reside within your own unconscious. You simply need to cultivate enough stillness to hear them. After years of living with the hope of being understood by others, you come to see that not everyone possesses the capacity to perceive you at your full depth. Sometimes they can only see the parts of you that make them feel comfortable. And that is not a failing on their part. In a world where everyone is on their own journey of self-discovery, very few have the space to fully comprehend another soul. When you release the expectation of external understanding, you initiate the return journey inward, where all your inner contradictions begin to find harmony. Fear and courage, pain and healing, shadow and light. They start to coexist. In that inner sanctuary, you no longer need anyone else to confirm that you are enough. You just need to know in your bones that you are being true to your own soul. And that in itself is enough. When this realization dawns, you stop searching for saviors in the outside world, because you have become your own. I recall the story of a musician who, after years of composing music to fit popular trends, fell into a state of creative burnout. One day he packed his bags and retreated to a small, quiet cabin in the mountains for a month. He disconnected from all social media and outside noise. There he began to play again, not for an audience, not for streams or sales, but simply to listen to what his soul wanted to express through the music. When he returned to the city, his compositions had transformed. They were raw, authentic, and filled with a new kind of life. A music producer happened to hear his new work and offered him a recording contract. The musician reflected, "When I stopped trying to be heard by the world began to truly hear me." This is the beautiful paradox that Jung often pointed toward. When you cease your seeking outwardly, you become a center of inward gravity. Because true creative power, love, and wisdom do not originate from being understood by others. They flow from the deep and unconditional acceptance of yourself, including all the parts that no one else may ever understand. Like a lighthouse standing firm on a rocky coast, it does not cry out to be seen. It does not chase after passing ships. It simply stands in its own power, shining its beam consistently. And by doing so, it naturally guides those who are navigating their own dark waters. We are the same. When you learn to stand in your own light, without needing recognition or understanding, your very presence becomes a quiet guide for others who are finding their way. The psychotherapist Carl Rogers, a contemporary of Jung, once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. No one will ever fully understand the entirety of your experience. But that does not mean you cannot be deeply loved, because genuine love does not require complete understanding. It requires complete acceptance. And when you learn to accept yourself in all your complexity, depth, and beautiful contradictions, you begin to radiate an energy that makes others feel safe and accepted in your presence. Strangely, the very moment you stop seeking someone to understand you, you may begin to feel understood, not through long explanations, but through the quiet power of your presence. The people who truly belong in your life will feel this connection without needing a detailed map of your past. If life has ever exhausted you with a relentless need to be understood by others, I invite you to rest. Sit in silence. Place a gentle hand over your heart and simply listen. That inner voice, perhaps faint but unwavering, already knows the way. It knows where you need to go, what you need to release, and how to begin again. And then you will realize a breathtaking truth. You do not need anyone to complete you, because you were never broken. Everything you have ever searched for in other people, love, peace, understanding, are simply different names for one single experience. The experience of coming home to yourself. That is the ultimate secret of how you rise, even when you walk entirely alone. Not through the noise of constantly proving your worth, but through the profound quiet of awakening to the wholeness that has been within you all along. A person who can rise when no one is there is not someone who never feels pain. They are someone who has learned to transform loneliness into a wise teacher, silence into potent fuel, and every fall into a solid foundation for future strength. They do not live to be seen by the world, but to be honest with their own soul. When the world grows silent, they listen within. When no one else believes in their path, they hold the faith themselves. And from that place, which might have once felt like an empty void, a new kind of power is born. A power that requires no external proof. Because in the end, this entire journey is not about becoming invincible. It is about becoming radically authentic with your fears, your will, and your own inherent light. When you finally stop waiting for a savior, you will realize you were never weak. You just hadn't yet discovered how truly strong you have always been. If this conversation has stirred something in your heart, please share it. Because someone in your life might need this exact reminder today, that they are strong enough to stand up and keep believing in their own journey. And don't forget to subscribe to Winds of Thought, because this path of becoming your truest, most resilient self has only just begun.